It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. We, Eric Harley over there. I'm Gary McNamara here. Hello. And so just reading this headline here before we get anywhere else, go anywhere else.
Yeah.
Climate reality hits Nantucket. Even Massachusetts Democrats are rethinking the CO2 emissions targets. There once were radical leftists and Democrats from Nantucket who saw the high price of their climate change nirvana and said
no.
Okay, no.
No, we can't.
Forget it.
We'll do it off the air, though.
Forget it. That's what I was going to say. Forget it.
Sure. I was going to say something else.
Oh, okay.
I probably will later, off the air. Yeah.
We'll get to that later on, but we got to start with an audio cut.
All right.
Well, actually, the second with an audio cut. That was starting it with the climate center. Here we go.
Okay.
Let's go to AOC. All right?
Sure.
Here's AOC yesterday. All right, let's get to it. All right.
I want to say this right now. I fully welcome Trump voters into our coalition. And I know that sounds crazy to some people, but just hear me out. I cannot tell you. It just happened to me like 2 weeks ago. I can't tell you how many times someone has pulled me aside and said either I was once a big Trump voter and a Trump supporter, and I watched Fox News every day, but then I started to kind of expand my world and where I got information, and now I've learned, and now I've changed, and I'm with you, and I learn from you.
She's lying. She's making that up.
Yeah, either she's lying or they lied to her.
Or they lied to her, right, exactly, to make her feel good. Now, I will say this. You and I have said this because, again, Fox News and other places went, come on, that, it's a complete lie. And we've said this before. Conservatives and most Trump voters, not all, because there's vast coalitions that support particular candidates, as we know.
Yeah.
There are independents that jumped aboard on Trump that believed the prices would come down day one.
Mm-hmm.
And when they didn't, they were upset. And we
Right.
said, well, they weren't going to come down day one to
Right.
begin with. That wasn't going to happen.
Right.
But he said they would. Okay, so you've got that kind of voter that just doesn't pay attention, hears something, likes it, and votes for it. But somebody who watches Fox News on a consistent basis across the board and listens to the conservative media, in no way is there a significant portion. There can always be an exception to the rule, but no way is there a significant portion or even a number of them that say, I've been listening to MSNBC and you've changed my mind.
I refuse to believe that more than a few dozen of those people in the entire world exist.
Right. Now, that doesn't mean that the Republican Party hasn't become more socialist on the scale of socialism, as we've talked about, not nearly as socialist as a Green New Deal, but the belief that government in the redistribution of income is that the Republican Party should be involved more in that, and they have been.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the responsibility of the federal government and how they've expanded, and the Republican Party no longer concerned about the debt, the vast majority of Republicans, our audience, an exception to that, we hope, it's completely different. I am that old where I remember when I started talk radio.
Hear ye, hear ye.
In the 80s, and it's the 19, not the 18.
19. 1900. Back in the 1900s.
When I started in 89, you tried to raise taxes or you brought it up and Republicans would go crazy.
Oh, yeah.
We saw about 10 years ago where it started moving where it wasn't that big of a thing, to the point where I'd say maybe it was about 4 years ago when we were talking about it, 4 or 5 years ago, where I don't know if it was before COVID or after COVID, where we would get callers and people writing to us and telling us, you know, you guys are exaggerating the problem with the debt. It's really not that bad. In fact, the debt's healthy. And we're like, oh, my gosh.
No, it's and I think that was during the same era that Obama was saying that national debt's not a problem. And that's when you start hearing that kind of feedback. That is their reality, or it's the reality with the blinders that they wear. They want that to be their reality.
Right. Understand
it's not the reality. Right. It's their perception or their delusion that they've created. I don't even want to say perception because I believe anybody and everybody can understand the national debt and how much of a concern it is. It's whether you choose, if you're willfully not ignorant but delusional about the national debt and whether or not it's a problem. And we've been talking about how the Republican Party's been moving further and further left. I think, in fact, the platform at the convention in 2044 for the GOP will probably include the Green New Deal.
Well,
it's going to take them longer to get there, right. But they'll get there.
Now, when I'm talking the scale, there's a huge scale of socialism.
Yes.
And so, again, it's just Republicans are moving in the wrong direction there.
Yes.
Now, whether we'll see a self-correction on it, we shall see. Because when you talk about policies of, even it's becoming more of an issue now, the White House backing off. Now it looks like on a number of food tariffs out there. We thought it was completely insane that the administration started tariffing bananas when you can't make them in the United States.
Right.
And was it J.D. Vance talking about you told me J.D. Vance who said we're going to start
Bessent.
Okay.
Bessent, over the weekend.
We're going to
He was teasing a new announcement that they were going to make about new crops that we're going to have here in the United States, which at best would be a long-term, very small-scale game for the U.S. if we're talking coffee and bananas.
Right. Big climate, it just doesn't work. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And so when they put tariffs on that, we just shook our heads going, this is nuts. Yeah. This is completely, and of course they're backing off on it, but even tariffs. Now, if you're using tariffs because of unfair trading practices, that's one thing. Mm-hmm. If you generally believe that we should be a tariff nation and tariff everybody, as this president does, that's moving closer to socialism.
Right.
Because the government wants more control of the capital, which is the definition of socialism.
Right.
But on a scale of where the Democrats are going, it's minor because, as we've said before, whether the tariffs will stay on will most likely be an economic decision. Could be a court decision here, but you can see it's an economic decision based on where the White House is going, saying, okay, food prices are a problem, as we have said they are over and over again, by the way, to criticism from some in our audience. But it's not an opinion. People still believe. Even Republicans believe that economics is an opinion.
Right. It's not.
It's not an opinion.
No.
It's how human beings react to incentive, and it's always the same.
Well, you and I have been through this thing with tariffs. I don't know how many times.
Years.
And every time one comes about, it doesn't matter if it's Bush or if it's Trump or any of them, when they enact a tariff, it's only a matter of time before the pressure is on. The pricing, that's always the problem. the pricing pressure that it puts. With the steel tariff, you had a lot of manufacturers that said, well, if we can't import steel, then we're going to have to move to where we can, and we're going to move our plants. And once we do that, we're probably not going to invest on bringing our plants back here. And so we've been through this before, but this is a much broader scale in modern times. So when you see that impact on the consumer directly, you know something's going on when, again, the word affordable has just been the word for the GOP. And then the administration then reportedly is looking at this exemption for certain food tariffs because they understand that pricing and affordability is going to be the key in 26. And that if the GOP doesn't get it done, this is the thing. They always say, well, at the midterm, the president isn't on the ballot. This president owns his party, as every president should. I don't necessarily think that was the case with Biden. He was technically the leader of his party, but not really. Trump is the leader of his party, and he also campaigns very heavily. And so it's about the GOP agenda, and they're all on board the Trump agenda. So it doesn't matter that he technically isn't on the ballot. Those initiatives, those policies are on the ballot, and they will be. Right. The economy is always on the ballot.
And one other thing is, whenever you promote socialist economic ideas, you have to not tell the truth.
Right.
Whenever you promote that it's a positive, economically speaking. Now, it can be a long-term positive if another country is involved in unfair trading practices and you want to go after them. If it becomes the policy of your country in a protectionist way,
right?
Well, that's when you look at it and you just say, okay, how are you going to defend it? And this president came out and is still saying it, that the exporter pays the tariff.
Mm-hmm.
Where Bessent over and over again. No, it's the importer. It's the importer. It's the importer. Even in their debate on tariffs for the Supreme Court, they didn't make the argument.
Right.
They did not make the argument that so that's the untruth you have to sell in order to sell socialism.
Right. That the other countries pay.
Right. When you promote economic socialism, you can't tell the truth.
There is an effect on the other countries.
Yeah.
The American consumer is paying the tariffs on incoming products to America through those importers and
the consumer and the American companies.
Yes. And that's the problem. The economy has to absorb that in a number of different ways, because if those retail operations can't, at the point where they can no longer adjust for that, and absorb that without changing prices, then they have to change prices. There's no other option.
And we got beat down earlier this year for that.
Mm-hmm.
When we said, no, the only thing tariffs can do, if your long-term goal is to do this, but it's going to it's always going to you can never make products cheaper by making them more expensive.
No.
I mean, I don't know what else.
You can't.
I mean, it's such a simple concept.
Right.
But you may have a goal in there. But the generalized tariffs, Trump wants tariffs across the board. And to show that they weren't even thinking to put it on products that aren't even made in the United States.
Yeah.
There's no even economic thinking about it to do something like that.
Well,
by pulling back now, it shows two things. The admission from the administration,
mm-hmm.
half of them are, all the administration saying one thing that's completely different from what Trump is saying.
Right.
But the fact is, the importer and the consumer pays it. The companies and the consumer pays the tariff, and the American public has figured that out. And that's a problem right now for this president and for the Republican Party come November.
Right.
Which means they have to, and it also shows that, number one, the importer pays it. Number two, it makes things more expensive.
Right. Yep.
The importer and consumer, taxpayer, whatever.
Right.
pays for.
And the
it,
other
so.
day, the president mentioned talking to the press after the swearing in of the new ambassador to India. He was talking about it, and he said if the Supreme Court turns against him, or if the decision comes out against him, then it will cost trillions of dollars because he throws in the fact that so many companies, as a result of these tariffs, are now investing in the U.S. Well, then there's going to have to be a new incentive plan to keep them on track to invest in the U.S. that doesn't include tariffs.
Yeah, like bring down the court, as we gave total credit to Trump in his first term. Nobody else gets credit except Trump for getting the corporate tax rate where it is right now in the United States.
And keep energy prices low.
Right. He gets full credit for that. He gets full credit for energy and doing that.
Yep.
And for less regulations.
Right.
But
all of that invites business, and he's good at handshaking, and I think there's a way to incentivize companies to invest without the tariffs.
Absolutely.
But
the thing you can never get across, it takes a while to get an economy where you want, even if you deregulate and do all those things.
Oh, yeah.
But prices are immediate.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And we laid it out in January and February of this year and before, back in his first term, and Republicans pushed back on us.
It's always within a year or two.
Right.
Because when the marketplace, and again, this is a wide-based set of tariffs, which the consumer feels directly. It's not like steel tariffs. Well, you're going to see that in the making of certain things with steel. No, it's a wide base of tariffs that they're paying for every day. And it's those prices are now being passed on more and more. We haven't seen the full effect at the retail level yet. And that's a problem, and it will be a growing problem.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller. Drivers must always be prepared for a roadside inspection. This means drivers should always have their personal, vehicle, and company credentials organized and ready. The top 2 violations written against drivers every year are log, general form and manner, and log not current. Both are completely avoidable if the driver keeps the log accurate, compliant, and current at all times. Having the vehicle ready for inspection involves the driver conducting daily inspections and making sure any problems that are discovered are immediately corrected. Vehicle readiness also requires the company to make sure that the vehicle is current on all scheduled maintenance and that the maintenance schedule is adequate. This will make sure the driver is being given a sound vehicle to start with. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, let's play this audio. Why? Just for the fun of it.
Okay.
Representative Brandon Gill, this is 2 days ago during the debate, the debate on the budget and everything else.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It was great to hear from the new leader of the Democrat Party, Mrs. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Unfortunately, we didn't also get to hear from their other leader, Mr. Zoran Mamdani. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to be proud this evening to vote to reopen the federal government.
House will be in order.
Yeah. This is the conundrum for the Democrats that I was talking about before the election. They are at that threshold of crossing. Are they going to cross that and go full commie? Look, they're trying. We know they want to. But the problem is they also know that these policies are going to fail in New York City. I think that's what scares the party in general. That on the national level, if it fails in New York City, it's like, okay, then we have to start all over again and wait for the next generation to come around. Mm-hmm. But those policies will fail.
Catch Red Eye Radio live every night on the Red Eye Radio app, available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. Interesting that Seattle, you saw elected a socialist mayor also.
Right.
Who's doing the same thing as Montgomery. We're going to give you this. In fact, she actually said we're going to Trump-proof Seattle and do all these things. And I think you made one of the best points, and that is that they're going to do all these things. They're not going to work. And we talked about this yesterday. Well, who's in power, who's in power? And who's in power is important.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to what works, socialism, Marxism doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Right.
That's the bottom line. When you look at everything and the standard of living that this world has seen, it is all because of capitalism.
Yeah.
And when you see those societies that are not advancing as quickly, those most likely will be socialist Marxist societies. So I think you brought up a great thing. The Democratic Party is panicking, not because you've heard this because it's New York City. No, it's because now New York City and Seattle will be promoted all the time.
Right.
These will be the test cases that the Republicans can use over the next, whatever their terms in office are, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, whatever. I don't know what the specific terms are, but they can use it when it starts failing. Mamdani is going full bore. I'm not defunding the police. I'm funding the social workers.
Yeah.
Does the same thing.
Right.
New York Post had a thing. We've got a test program going on. It's not working already in New York City.
Well, I mean, because here's the problem. And God bless social workers, but it's not a match for the job because, come out with your hands up turns into come out and tell us about your relationship with your mom. Let's sit down and have a conversation. And the thing is that detaining someone who is dangerous takes a set of qualifications and training. And you have to have the skills and the equipment and experience to do that. Social workers don't have that. If they want to bring a social worker into, into the county jail or something, okay, after the fact, but you create a safe situation immediately on the scene, and that's how you handle it. But this is somebody, again, he's a child. Mamdani is a child, a communist child. And that's what he's doing. He thinks these are all bold new ideas.
Well, it's also the continuation, because remember, defund the police was a demonization of the police. Mm-hmm. That the police, having people with guns enforce the law is an immoral way in our society.
Right.
That's what, when you get down to it, that's what they're trying to sell you.
Right.
And you look at this and it's like, what are you, nuts? And it's the same thing that we had said. Was it Sonny who on The View said, basically, I'm pro-life and anti-gun?
Mm-hmm.
And we went, that's the most ridiculous statement that you can possibly make. Because anybody who is pro-Second Amendment, anybody who goes through and is has a gun,
mm-hmm.
knows that someday they may be called upon to do what?
To kill someone.
To kill someone, why?
In order to protect another life.
In order to protect a life. So when you send a social worker there who's not armed, I want armed police when there's a domestic dispute. I want them going first to that, to wherever the residence is, because that gun can be used to save a life. If you're not willing, and this is where the left has it completely, complete and totally wrong and full of an immoral narrative. The people that are willing, the police officers that are willing, and anybody else, any citizen that are willing to use a gun to protect life are the good people. Those are the pro-life people. When Sonny said, I believe it was Sonny who said it, I'm pro-life but anti-gun, then you're not pro-life.
No.
If you're saying I'm pro-life but I'm not willing to defend life, well, to hell with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not really pro-life.
Right.
If you sit there and say, no, citizens shouldn't have the ability to protect themselves, their family, their street, their neighborhood, or wherever they are in their community from someone who was out there attempting to take life with a firearm, and the only response many times is a firearm, well, then you're not pro-life.
No.
You're not.
No.
You're not pro-life.
No,
you're a BSer, but you're not pro-life. You're trying to put yourself at some kind of higher level, but just like soldiers. I've said it many times before. The United States military, probably over the last, going back as far as you could possibly look at. Let's just take from World War II on. Probably the best representatives that the United States have had with the world, especially after the war is over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I read, when I read David Bellavia's book, David Bellavia now does my old show at a radio station in Buffalo, the Medal of Honor winner, the Medal of Honor recipient. When he won that for what he did in Fallujah, I read one of his books. And he talked about the fact of how you have to be. In fact, he's got 2 books out. The one book, I just can't think of the name of it. To me, and I've said it before, and I've never got a chance to talk to him yet. I've passed the message on through people that I know, to him. But that book to me, the one book, and it's the one about when he was in Fallujah, is the best representation, I think, maybe in American history about the mentality of an American warrior and then what you do after the bullets stop flying. And when he talked about the fact that, after they were in Fallujah, this is Fallujah, and they were killing people. And after the battle was over, they didn't desecrate the bodies. They didn't do anything except treat all the bodies of the enemies with respect. And he said, that's because all the civilians are watching you.
Yeah.
They're watching and looking for some decency in you. He said, because not everybody is behind what's going on. You see Iraq right now, and they still have problems, but they're a completely different society than they were.
Right.
And to change a society many times takes a half a century.
Well, you look at, in those efforts, Ambassador Chris Stevens in Libya was well loved, and it was because of the way that he operated, but it was that same mindset that we have when the military stays after the war is over, and what you're trying to do. We can have a debate about, okay, do we stay forever or not stay forever?
Right.
But there are things that are required in order to gain the respect of those civilians there, so that going forward we have the respect of nations all around the world.
My dad went into World War II right before it ended, right before they dropped the atomic bomb. So when I believe he got over to Japan in October or November of 45, excuse me. It's right. He's supposed to go in 44, and he was 4F, so he went in 45. I think June or July he was inducted, but he was over there that quickly, and so he was part of the entire Marshall Plan, and he was in Tokyo. And he said it was unbelievable that after a war like that, he goes, in a city that was completely firebombed, it was flat. He said how the civilians responded to the American soldiers. He said because they were told, that we were devils and they'd all be, and it wasn't the case. Mm-hmm. But I'm just making that analogy because it's the same for police officers. Police officers' jobs are incredibly hard. You think about what they have to go through and the instant decisions that they have to make. And, what we saw in 2020, the whole defund the police movement, the insanity that existed there, that all police departments are systemically racist to hunt down and kill blacks. One of the biggest lies told by liberals in the Democratic Party that harm this nation for a significant period of time. And do cops make mistakes? I hate that you even have to say that, but I mean, of course they are, because they're human beings. But the mission of what they do every day is absolutely necessary, and it's pro-life. And to sit there and say that because that's what it's about. The liberals hate that cops carry guns. Mm-hmm. If you're just nice to the criminal, well, then they'll follow the rules.
No, they think that about, this is why they give deference to criminals, in part. They give deference to the enemy. If we're just nice and support them, they won't hate us.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Who said that? Jasmine Crockett.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Said it the other day.
What'd she call it? Soft enforcement?
Soft power.
Soft power.
That because we were nice to them, they went, the United States is nice.
Right.
And that's why people didn't fly. After 9/11, terrorists didn't fly planes into buildings. I mean, such idiocy. I mean, absolute idiocy.
It's like they live in this delusional Hollywood cartoon, not even a movie. A cartoon. That's completely just delusional. There's no other way to say it. When you understand what people are capable of and what happens in those moments, and sometimes these aren't hardened criminals. Sometimes this is a person that's become dangerous all of a sudden to themselves or others.
Well, because in domestic abuse, just human nature, we all know domestic abuse, young people, the rage that you can get into, which all common sense is lost. You need an authoritarian figure that has to put a stop to that emotion that has a calming effect, but also has the lethal effect in case it gets to that level.
That's a good point, because police, a lot like soldiers.
That's why I was making the analogy.
Are social workers in part.
Yeah. Absolutely they are.
Yes. You have to, because you're questioning neighbors to find out what happened, and you're talking to family members, you're talking to other people in the household, you're trying to get the story as to what happened, but you're also relaying, you're relaying information to them and talking to them in a tone, or should be, that calms them down and says, hey, it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. And your actual social worker should be working for you at the detention center if you need that, but not on site. That becomes dangerous for everybody involved.
Now, if they come on site after the police have the situation contained, that would also be okay.
Sure, once it's secure.
Once it's secure and contained, yeah. We are Red Eye Radio.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, so Mamdani's going to try it, and same with Seattle. They'll try to do the whole defund the police again.
Yeah.
I believe. One of the things, the other thing I wanted to bring up very quickly is the other thing that I've always bothered me. Not only do they want to make police evil because police carry a gun, because that we know it gets down to carrying the gun. It's the other thing that they try to sell the public, that police are your enemy. They're not part of the community.
Right.
Where police officers are a part of the community that they live in.
Yeah, right.
And they've taken the job, voluntarily taken the job to protect life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reality of it.
Right.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We are Red Eye Radio. Hello.
Hello.
Well, it's a Friday show, so we're trying to clear off the desk.
That's right.
Since the government is now open again, a few other stories we want to bring your way. This is one of my favorites from yesterday.
Okay.
I saw this headline yesterday, and I nearly choked from laughing so hard because I remember when the DNC and the Democrats were promoting the fact that they were unionizing their workers. Do you remember that?
I do.
We're unionizing our workers.
Yes.
The Republicans aren't, well, because you're not a for-profit entity. You're a political agency, but you're not for profit. Why do you need a union? You want people that are passionate that would even volunteer, right?
Right.
It's like, well, we're one-upping the DNC. We're going to be unionized and the Republicans aren't. And we're like, and you expect that to do what? Let me just do the headline.
Okay.
DNC union erupts in outrage over shocking and callous order to work in person 5 days a week. Staffers at the Democratic National Committee seethed over the party's new directive to show up to the office and work in person 5 days a week. Oh, please go on strike. Please go on strike.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. What's the remedy here? For a union, you go on strike. What are you thinking?
Please happen. Please go on strike. But they're seething over the party's new directive to show up to the office and work in person 5 days a week, blasting the order as shocking and callous. The Democratic Party, they don't care about the worker, Eric. DNC Chairman Ken Martin informed workers during an all-staff meeting on Wednesday that the National Democratic Party apparatus will require its entire Washington, D.C. based staff to return to full in-person work starting in February. Quote, "It was shocking to see the DNC chair disregard the staff's valid concerns on today's team call. The DNC staff union leadership fumed in a statement first reported by the New York Times. Fight for your workers' rights. Go on strike.
Strike. Strike. Strike.
DNC staff worked extremely hard to support historic wins for Democrats up and down the ballot last Tuesday, and this change feels especially callous considering the current economic conditions created by the Trump administration. The union, which ratified a collective bargaining agreement with the DNC back in July, noted that it is considering its options. Please go on strike. Please go on strike. Please go on strike. The collective bargaining agreement allows DNC workers to request to work remotely on occasion, end of quote. During the announcement, Martin said that DNC workers would have flexibility for family, medical, and other personal matters that warranted remote work, a DNC official told the Post. Martin argued that Democrats had momentum after the off-year elections last week and contended that having staff work together is conducive to better brainstorming. Democrats talking about brainstorming, and allows the party to make time-sensitive decisions quickly, the source said.
Yeah, okay.
DNC staff, don't listen to the propaganda of the man, Ken Martin. You don't have to. You don't have to concede. You don't have to bow down to the man.
What do we want? To stay home. When do we want it? All the time. You know, the ironic thing is, if they go on strike, they'll pretty much have to do that on site, which means they'll have to come to the office.
for the picket line. Oh, my God. Remote picket lines.
Why is Larry holding a picket sign and walking up and down the sidewalk in front of his porch? He works for the DNC. He's on strike. What? That doesn't make any sense.
I still go back to when the Starbucks strikes were happening in Buffalo, because that's where it all started. And I was back the one time, and this is in the suburbs, and I went by the one Starbucks, and there really wasn't a picket line. It was supposed to be an advisory picket line, and they're all sitting drinking coffee.
Yeah, same thing here.
With the picket signs, sitting at an outside table with the picket signs just sort of.
That's what they were doing here.
Hanging there.
Just a few blocks from
they were
here.
doing it here too? Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
They had a banner that was draped over a car, and you couldn't see it because it was just draped over the car. It wasn't stretched out where, you could read it. So I'm pulling through the parking lot, and they're sitting at this outside table. They start to stand up as cars pull through, and then they just kind of gave up. I don't have a pleasant look naturally on my face, ever, especially before I've had coffee. But I don't know if that was it or if they just gave up. They stood up and then immediately sat back down, and they've got their picket signs leaning against the wall. You can't read those either. And then whatever I don't know what it said. Probably no kings, or I don't know. Whatever their chant was draped over a car. You can't even see it. I almost parked my truck and got out and said, "Guys, come here. Let me show you how to put a banner up, okay? And you're going to have to stand up. Are we standing up for our rights?"
For God's sakes, you cannot quiet quit on a picket line.
Yeah, they can. And by the way, you people are more full of coffee than anyone. You should be standing up anyway. And so with the DNC workers, in order to protest, if they go on strike, ironically, that means at every day during the strike, they're going to have to be at the office. What are you protesting? Being at the office. How are you doing it? By being at the office.
And this is coming over on this side from me, from somebody who was involved in a wildcat strike one time.
Right.
Worked at Riley Gear in North Tonawanda, New York.
All right.
They now have their plants, I think, in Florida. I think it's somewhere in Central Florida. They moved the plant down there. I think they closed the New York plant, moved to Florida. And it was a small, I don't know, maybe 100 people that worked there.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even have like a local business manager. And a supervisor was just berating this one guy who was sort of a shy kind of guy, just laying into him, screaming at him. And we actually went up to the supervisor a couple times and said, stop it. You know, the guy's not doing anything wrong. Stop it. I'll have your job. Well, you know, I had a very good reputation as a machinist. Management loved me. They really did. When I got laid off, they said if it wasn't for the union, you'd still be there. But the supervisor was just out of control. And this guy was a good worker. He was. And it was just some kind of, I don't know what it was, a power play by the supervisor. And finally, he suspended the guy. And it was halfway through the shift, and a few people come up and said, we're walking. We're just going to walk for the rest of the shift. So we walked out and went to the bar, knowing we were going to get a call the next day, and I got a call the next day. And they said, we want you to come in. I said, okay. So I went in there, and, you know, I had already talked to a significant portion of the guys. I said, look, before we go any further here, if everybody's willing to, we did this because for some reason management's ignoring what this guy's doing, and it's out of line.
Yeah.
It's out of line. It's harassment.
Right.
It's just out and outright harassment. We're willing to make up the time and get whatever work we need to get done. If we have to work overtime without time and a half, we've agreed to do it. You know, and they said, no, that's not necessary. Sit down. What's going on? And I was there with another guy who was the leadman, as they call him. And he was an older guy, probably 64, 65. A young guy now. And he walked. When he walked, it was like this guy was there for probably since he was in his 20s.
Right, yeah.
And they knew it. They said, we knew when you walked, and it was Merrill. When Merrill walked, we knew that there was a problem here that we need to get solved here. And we told him what happened. They suspended the supervisor. And he came back. He was suspended for a significant period of time. He came back, and he was the nicest guy after that. This guy was just a jerk. And so that's really my only time. I was never on a picket line. We always got the contract done on time. And I always romanticized the picket line because I always wanted to sit. I always wanted to stand, where the garbage can is with the flames coming out.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But no, that was the only.
With your hands in your pocket.
Right.
Got a hoodie under your jacket.
Yes.
You got a jacket over your hoodie.
Well, you need to get warm for a couple minutes and you're back
Right.
out.
Got a sandwich from Primanti Brothers in your hand.
Back out.
I don't even know why you're in the Berg, but yeah. That's if you're protesting in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. But this is just hilarious. The DNC union. Oh my gosh! Please strike. Please strike over
Come
this.
on.
Please strike. Make my day.
Yeah, I mean, please, yeah. Because again, I want to see them forced to go to the office to strike.
I love this one. Outside observers were amused by the DNC infighting, with Democratic operatives ripping into the outrage over the in-person work policy. Quote, if you think democracy is on the line, working in the office is not a big ask, and there are plenty of other people willing to step up. Get yourselves together, people. Neera Tanden, who was a senior advisor to former President Joe Biden, said on X in response to the controversy. Whoa, my gosh.
My goodness.
They really don't care about the worker.
I guess not.
Don't you understand democracy is at risk? Wow. Everyone should work a traditional campaign before doing a PAC committee. Monica Vensky, House Communications Director of the Liberal American Bridge 21st Century Super PAC, argued GOP operatives were having a field day over the drama. This is hilarious. DNC staffers are shocked at being expected to show up to work during a midterm campaign cycle. A Republican National Committee Press Secretary Kirsten Pels mused, "Is this a political committee or a daycare?" Another National Republican Congressional Committee member said, quote, "DNC staffers are melting down after being told they actually have to show up to work again for the first time in 5 years." Wow. The DNC butted heads with its union last year after its party apparatus decided to make the post-election layoffs. Well, look, they shouldn't be. The DNC shouldn't be complaining, or should other Democrats shouldn't be complaining. You're the ones that stood up and screamed how proud you are that you have a union.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't complain. Where did you think this was going to go? I mean, it's the same thing as Starbucks years ago with the whole let's talk race. All right, we've got an idea for all you baristas here at Starbucks. Listen, we're management. We're smart. We've come up with this idea. This is really going to boost business. Right before you give them their coffee, start a fight. Right? Let's talk race on their cup. They're not going to ask you to do it. In fact, they may tell you not to do it. Do it anyway. The idea of unionizing, this big, noble idea.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it comes back to bite you in the way that it was always going to. We don't want to have to work in the office every day.
Well, the concept of government unions, I mean, that was never the original intent. We've talked about how the late labor leader George Meany,
right.
FDR, completely and totally against government unions.
It's about getting it's sharing in the profit of business.
The whole concept of unions was to share in the profits. There are no profits in the government, but it's the only place where they've been able to grow.
And at the DNC, Hillary and Nancy, they're not going to let you share in their profits. It's not going to happen. Get over it.
I wonder if they want a cut of George Soros's contributions to the DNC.
Yeah, probably.
We are Red Eye Radio.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
A weekend trip through Kentucky and 2 scheduled stops before this year's U.S. Capitol Christmas tree makes its final trek to the nation's capital, with arrival at Andrews Air Force Base and the U.S. Capitol grounds expected on November 20th. Christine Buckley of the U.S. Forest Service in Nevada, home state of this year's tree, says the cross-country journey has included experiences for education of the tree, of Nevada's forest, and the Forest Service itself.
Anytime opportunity we have to get out and talk to people about what we do and about what an amazing organization this is, we couldn't be happier, we couldn't be prouder.
The lighting ceremony for the 53-foot red fir nicknamed Silver Bell is scheduled for December 3rd on the west lawn of the Capitol. More details about this year's tree can be found online at www.capitolchristmastree.com. I'm Ron Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Oh, some advice, some strike advice for the union of the DNC. I would not go on strike now. Hold off, go on strike next June or July.
Yeah.
You need to make sure
It has an impact.
Right. You got to make sure you go on strike at the right time. And so the DNC, could you imagine if they did that? So, because that's the argument that the Democrats are trying to make now. We're trying to save democracy, and you're worried about your job. Hey, you're the ones that said we should unionize. What do you expect?
Right.
When you tell us, when you say we're going to unionize the DNC, you made it clear that what we want personally in our negotiations matters.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. It is time for our Senator John Kennedy audio cut of the week.
Yeah.
He was on being interviewed by Glenn Beck. Here's a portion. Here's the important part of that conversation.
Was this just about the election? What was this for?
Oh, it was politics. It has to do with Senator Schumer's politics. The Bolshevik wing, the loon wing of his party, he's scared of them.
He should be.
Instead of standing up to them, I think his testicles are on back order from China. Because
well, like most everything. Oh, my gosh. And, here's the thing. Also, like a lot of imports right now, because of tariffs, they're 2 times more expensive.
We won't get into the Hitler story then, will we?
No.
From yesterday, the Hitler story that was out there.
No, we won't. Wow. Wow.
Just the greatest.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. So
I love it. I love it. That's funny. We could have an entire show of just audio cuts from Senator John Kennedy.
I know. Oh, just greatness.
We need to do a top 10. I don't know if we could limit it to 10 though.
Oh man. Well, here we go again. You and I talked about when the president made the right decision on Iran, a historic decision, the absolute right decision, and you had and that's when people started asking the question: is the president MAGA anymore? Mm-hmm. And we've always gotten the biggest kick out of it, where you've got people out there saying, "Well, I'm more MAGA than the president." Well, he is MAGA. That's the whole thing. Yeah. But we had talked about the president on Laura Ingraham earlier this week. Started blowing up yesterday, even Fox News covering it. This is from Fox News. Trump's backing of H-1B visa program exposes cracks within the MAGA movement. And also the story that was out there yesterday from The Hill that Democrats are going to pound on. Mm-hmm. And I think other media outlets had it, where Trump now has brought in a record number of foreigners to work in temporary jobs at Mar-a-Lago, golf courses, all of his companies. And these are not, for example, this isn't the H-1B visa, which is, more highly educated people. These are kitchen people and housekeeping people and everything else. And, we said he can't win that. Now, when it comes to legal immigration, the president has always been someone, in fact, you and I always go back to his first term with Jim Acosta, when Jim Acosta was eventually kicked out of the press room. But that was started where he was explaining to Jim Acosta that I am for legal immigration. With all the jobs are going to be created. We don't have the population growth. We are going to need people to do that. And that was sort of just, they bypassed. But now Laura Ingraham the other night, I mean, they were going at it. He was like, we need these people. She goes, no, we don't. And Wall Street Journal had a article about J.D. Vance doesn't agree with that. His position is different than Trump's. Well, this article came out yesterday. Trump's backing of the H-1B visa program exposes cracks with the MAGA movement. You and I also remember in his first campaign.
Yeah.
When he changed his mind 3 times in 36 hours about what he thought about the H-1B visa program. But then the subheadline here, this Marjorie Taylor Greene says, she's America first and American only after the president's comments on foreign workers. President Donald Trump drew criticism from those within his Make America Great base after he reinvigorated the debate on one of his party's most controversial issues, the H-1B visa. The visas allow U.S. companies to hire highly skilled foreign workers for up to 6 years. The issue resurfaced after Trump told Fox News' Laura Ingraham in an interview that aired Tuesday that bringing foreign workers in to the U.S. on H-1B visas is important to bring in talent to the U.S. While Ingraham argued the U.S. has the talent at home, Trump said that wasn't the case. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. Trump said, you can't take people off the unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you in a factory where we're going to make missiles. Trump also defended past remarks endorsing allowing up to 600,000 Chinese students to come to the U.S. to Laura Ingraham, claiming that they must study in the United States so U.S. colleges don't go out of business. While proponents of the program argue the program is key to the U.S. competitiveness, critics argue that the visa holders are taking away jobs from Americans. MTG promptly spoke out against the statements, claiming she is America first and America only. I believe in the American people, and I am one of you. I believe you are good, talented, creative, intelligent, hardworking, and want to achieve. I am solidly against you being replaced by foreign labor, like with H-1Bs. I am solidly against allowing foreign students into our colleges and universities, like 600,000 Chinese students, just to financially prop them up. If they fail, they fail. The system in place isn't helping our young people anyway. Other Republicans weighed in and said the policy could play out poorly for the GOP in the 2026 midterms. This is insane. We are going to lose, and we're going to lose the midterms so badly, said Anthony Sabatini, a Republican county commissioner in Florida, said Tuesday on X. We've never seen an administration crash and burn in its first year so badly for no other reason than to appease donors and special interests. Meanwhile, the White House pointed to the Trump administration's announcement in September that would require a $100,000 annual fee for companies seeking to obtain an H-1B visa. Likewise, the White House said the Department of Labor launched Project Firewall in September in an attempt to ensure that employers don't abuse the H-1B visa process. The problem is with the news the other day, you can sit there and you can make the claim, because it's wide knowledge, that there's a huge disconnect, that there are jobs out there right now that Americans can't fill. Yeah, that's not a political statement. That's fact. There are jobs right now that cannot be filled.
Right.
There is a disconnect in what we're teaching kids and what the new jobs are. We know this.
Yeah, there's a skills gap.
There's a skills gap. Exactly. Now, how do you solve that and how the American public wishes to solve it? The American public does not want. Now, I haven't seen a poll probably in 6 months. But every poll I've seen over the last 10 years, the American public agrees with J.D. Vance. They want less immigration. They want fewer legal immigrants coming into the country.
We talked about that before the 24 election. We talked about how that sentiment would likely last for quite some time. When the border is secure for a while, and right now it's more secure than it has been in a long time, and I don't know how long that while is going to be, but after that is the case, for whatever period of time, there might be a conversation about it. It's a different conversation. The problem with it is right now, is in this moment, you've got a jobs situation right now that doesn't look good. And when you've got people coming from other countries undercutting pay rates overall, again, the skills match problem is a huge problem that will always exist in the workforce. But the political scope of all of this is about, wait a minute, they're coming here for my job. Wait a minute, they're coming here for my job.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking my job, even though that may not be directly the case. That's the sentiment. We want to fill those jobs, even though we're not going to fill all those jobs. And I don't know how long it takes to get to a point of any kind of remedy for that, where people start politically the public is more and more open to visas again, but it's not now. And I don't think it will be over the next couple of years. I think it will take probably 2 to 3 years at least, if not longer. If ever, and I think one of the other elements here that we haven't included is the AI element. So we don't know how many jobs AI will replace, but we know it will replace jobs. Now, there will be some other jobs, that are available, but again, with that skills gap, we won't have people to fill those jobs and building those centers, the data centers, or whatever it might be, that those jobs that require humans, and this expansion of AI. So it's a real puzzle that's going to have to be worked, but the American people aren't going to be tolerant to legal immigrants coming here for work anytime soon. And I don't know if it comes back the way that it used to be. Again, there was always a conversation. Look, okay, we can do this, and the borders are closed, the borders are tight, and we can have a limited number of visas. And I think right now, if you had a vote, a public sentiment vote on this, it would probably turn into revoking a number of the visas or drawing down the number of available visas.
Forget about an overall vote. Poll Republicans.
Yeah.
But where the president gets killed on this, the administration reveals over 100 investigations into the H-1B visa abuses that he is talking about, as he says we need more coming in on the H-1B visas, but the H-2 visas, which are the temporary visas for foreign workers for jobs like housekeeping and people to work at his golf course, and he's hired more than ever, he cannot win that with the MAGA base. Well, we can't find anybody. Well, then pay more money. That's the whole point.
Right.
For jobs like that, it's like, pay more money for that. He's not going to win that. That's part of the populism now that exists in the Republican Party. You're not going to win that. Right. Trump's not going to win that argument, and he has not won the argument that we need to have 600,000 Chinese students in the United States, because if we won't, colleges will fail. You're not winning that with your own party.
Well, look at the promise that they delivered on the no taxes for tips. When they started that on the campaign trail last year, what was that about? That was about the worker. That was about service workers and American service workers. This doesn't look good up against that promise.
We are Red Eye Radio.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So, you can look at, what happened last week. And this is a question that I have, Eric, is because you see now on a variety of different issues here where the Republicans are starting to push back on the president, where there's more attention being paid to things like legal immigration and prices and everything else. And I wonder if you have Republicans looking at the weakness where Republicans stand right now on things like prices, immigration, whatever the split there, and are they viewing Trump as a lame duck president now? Well, that's a question. I put that as a question. I don't know whether it is or not.
Yeah.
It's tough to make that analysis, but it's a question of whether people inside the Republican Party think MTG absolutely does.
I think it's clear she does.
Because she's making it clear now, I'm MAGA, he's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and another problem adding to it, if you're looking at the overall economy, not that everybody hinges on what is going on in the Dow, but the Dow right now, is seeing some hits based on the concern with these AI companies that have been propping up Wall Street for quite some time. So we'll see where this goes.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.